call the select board meeting to order. We need first item is to adopt the agenda, but we need to amend it so that we can deal with the capital budget. Can we have a motion
I
to?
would adopt the agenda as written and to include discussion and approval of the capital budget.
Okay.
And where do we want to put that?
We'll do it right after the minutes.
Okay.
And since we're still on the old procedure, so we'll have a second. Second? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
The minutes, are there any additions, corrections to the minutes as presented? I see Ron's got some red pen out there.
Trying to recall exactly what our discussion was with respect to the capital budget last time. But the statement here just needs to be clarified. It says the board will accept to the budget. So,
I think that's what we accepted was the capital budget.
yeah, but we did not vote, am I right?
No, I think we voted.
We did
Didn't we
vote.
vote?
No, we didn't really, you voted at the other meeting to have it go back to the capital budget committee to adjust, but then at this last meeting, you decided that we'll take it.
Right, that's what I thought.
Yeah, right.
There wasn't really any vote, you just
Yeah, okay. So
accepted.
But we did, okay.
I would just say take out the word "to" in that second line, so the board will accept. And replace it by
We
"the."
don't care.
So it's- at least I understand it. Okay.
Did it?
Okay. Yep.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. The capital budget. We had a public hearing at 10:45 to 6. There was no comment from the general public. So I guess we need a motion to accept it. Is that right, Cynthia? Or how did
Yes,
this leave for
I
me?
don't
So I'm not
remember
sure
what was
either.
done in the past.
I don't know why. I wasn't here, so this is.
Well, I was here, and I don't remember.
Anybody know?
I make a motion we accept the capital budget
Okay.
Don't know
as
much about it.
proposed by the capital budget.
You need to adopt it, not accept it, adopt it.
Yeah.
Adopt.
Thanks,
Do we have a second to that?
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
We accept. Danny, highway report?
So I've been working with Wyndham Regional with the general road permit, which is a Act 64. They have pretty much done all our mapping up. They got a little bit left to do just in the notations of the stuff, all the connected roads. We have like 37 that are very high priority areas that we have to have all the work completed by 2020. Then after that, you have like 20 years to do the rest of the stuff. So, they also asked about, they'd give us help. We have to organize the capital budget a little bit different, showing some of the bigger projects, mostly box culverts. So I took them around last week and we come up with like 8 or 9 of the culverts that we had actually prioritized right after Irene on Hinkley Brook, Fisher Hill, and Bell Road. So they're gonna actually do some of that stuff for us.
When you say
Yeah, could you explain this?
Wyndham Regional.
Wyndham Regional is going to do it, what does "do it" mean? Does that mean design it? Does that mean pay for construction?
No, we gotta show in our capital budget how we're gonna be saving toward these projects, not just for grant money, but how we're gonna actually fund to replace some of these culverts in the future. And it has to be more detailed than what we have in the capital budget. Right now, we just put in there where we're saving for structures or road rehabilitation, stuff like that. We actually gotta show each of the projects, which would be basically all of the box culverts. The stone lining of the ditches, I didn't think should be really in the capital budget because they're not a real, I mean, there'd be $12,000 to $15,000 locations, but I didn't feel that should be really in the capital budget. That should be just the regular budget. So we have to show like pictures of the existing, probably a copy of the hydraulic study, what will be put in place of the old and all, and you know, on each project. And they're willing to do all that paperwork to get it organized for us.
Okay.
And Danny and I were discussing, so I think when it comes next year, we need to kind of change the way we do our capital budgeting and actually put the actual projects in.
Yes.
Is that
Yep.
correct?
Yep.
Will they give us some kind of a written proposal or guidelines or something that we could have, so when we deal with the capital budget committee next year, we can present that this is what is
You will
required?
have the whole system by then.
You will.
And we're having probably within the next month.
Oh, okay, great.
It's not just something the towns are coming up with, it's kind of what the state's requiring now. With
That's what I
this,
mean.
with this general road permit, they want to see that you're actually saving the money to do some of it without grant money.
Right.
So, and I think we're good, the way we're doing it, we just gotta change the way it's listed that we're saving the money. You're gonna have to put it toward the projects.
So are you meaning like a subcategory of one of the categories we already have to break down, or,
I think,
so we're already saving the funds, right? We're just saving them on a lump and we need to
Right.
know exactly precisely like we used to
what
do.
project you're saving.
'Cause we used
You gotta
to do
list-
that, okay.
You gotta list a year that you intend to do, say like, Fisher Hill Cove, the first one, but, below Record Road, the steel culvert. They wanna know what year you plan to replace that. We've always saved money to go toward grant money, and they're saying, no, you need to actually have a plan to do it with your own money.
And
So-
hope you get grant.
And if you get a grant in that time period, fine. If not, you might pay for one out of pocket that year and do one with a grant. But, you can't be just relying on just the grant money. Because, we picked out 8 or 9 culverts. We get the structure grant once out of every 7 years. So, if you keep going that way, you're gonna get 2 of them done, the rest are gonna collapse if we ever get to it.
Okay.
But instead of saving, like 10,000 for structures and another 10,000 for the road rehabilitation, you might want to just say that you're putting, 20, take a bunch of them in guardrails, just put it all as one pool toward the project, and you have to prioritize the projects. So when you get enough money to do it, you do that number one, and then you just keep saving for the next one.
Oh, okay.
So I don't think we gotta change a lot the way you're saving money or taxing for the money. It's just the way it's listed and showing that if you don't get the grant in 3 years, you're gonna have money, you're gonna do it yourself. And that's what they wanna see. And it's part of their general road permit, and they wanna see every town, not just waiting for grant money.
Right.
And Wyndham Regional has already done, I think Weston's, they sent me an example of Weston's. They did all the pictures and everything for it. So,
If we did get a grant, then would that change the timing, bring projects forward?
yeah. And it's not like once you put the timeline out there, it's not like it has to stay there. You can change it. You may find one that gets worse a little faster than you thought and have to move them around.
Okay.
So, they just wanted to see a plan to go along with the general road permit. Other than that, it'd be just waiting for it to snow. We've had a couple ice storms already, little ones.
Well, maybe this week, I think there might be the first one.
Yeah, possible. Rain tomorrow. Sure there'll be some ice spots wherever the roads haven't warmed up enough.
This mapping exercise, when it's done, we'll have all of our roads, we'll have all of our culverts. The signs are part of the mapping or a
They're
different
done.
part. That's done.
The time is done. So basically all the maps is the basic, like the one on the wall. It's gonna be different markings for, depending if it's the culverts, the signs, or connected roads. Can't remember the exact number, but we have a connected segment is 320 feet long, I think he said it was. We have over 600 of them connected segments in town. So out of the 44 miles, we got like 37 miles connected that follow all these new rules, the rules of the general road permit.
And I'm trying to think about what you're talking about and think about Irene and think about in FEMA where we have to document repairs and show it on a map and all. And I'm trying to think, all right, what's the best way if we had another Irene to to document the damage and track the work that was done after? Will we do it by 911 addresses, that we
No.
work from here to here? Will we do it from what they're creating now? and
You're
say
gonna
from
have
this
to do it by
culvert to this
connected.
culvert? You
You're
know,
gonna have
how will we designate or track the work sections and assign it?
Where you're gonna have to keep track of everything that's done in the connected segments. And it's done, it's GPS. It's all mapped. Each, there might be three segments, but each segment has its own number, 5-digit number from the state. When the regional is only giving it regular numbers like 1, 2, all the way up through. And then you have to look into another form because they're saying that 5 digits is just not enough room to put it all in the maps. But you're gonna end up keeping track of all your work and connect it to the connected segments, which all have their own number for each road.
And they're saying that this new mapping should be available when? When should we see the product?
We have one of the maps already. Then all the comments and stuff, they're not printed out because there said to be just pages and pages of it. That he sent in an email. So by the end of the month, they should be pretty well done with the Category A grant, which is the connected segments that we applied for.
Okay.
There's some forms the state haven't even come up with yet what we're gonna use as forms, so it's gonna take a while to get it all in line.
Let's hope there's no more Irenes in the meantime. Any other comments from Danny? Okay. Next item is website access. Eric Stevens has requested that Chuck Wise and the town and Kim Reckett, the clerk, have access to the website. I understand Kim already has access, and he wants to have Chuck have it so that he can have timely postings for the planning commission or for anything that has to do with what Chuck does. So it's up to I guess it's up to the board to act. I'm not sure if it's something we vote to do or you want to do, and that's why it's on the
Can I
agenda.
ask a question first?
Sure.
Kim, I remember during Irene, there was concerns about security and access, emails, I'm guessing websites. Do you have a suggestion or a concern? Should we give this access to Chuck and let him do the web directly, or would you feel better if it went through you?
I don't have a problem with him doing it. The only thing is I don't know, and I haven't checked our policy handbook, but we really should have some sort of a policy on our website. So that might be something you want to consider doing too, as to what do you actually want on it and who do you want allowed to post anything, and have guidelines as to how public do you want your website to be, just for our own protection. Everything we have and do should have a policy.
It seems to me.
And I don't have a problem with Chuck doing it because that way there the agenda would get on there when it's produced on a Thursday or Friday, and if I'm not there, no one's in the office, he can at least put that on, and same thing with the minutes.
The other thing is, the more people have access to the website, the more you can have confusion or whatever. And I don't know I don't know if there is a policy, obviously. We
I
don't have
don't
one.
think we ever created a policy on the usage of our website.
But I think your idea of having a policy is important. 'Cause
I think it's
it'll only get
important,
more complicated.
because we could have more requests for more people to have access, and then you need to set your guidelines. Do you want it just town officials, or just the main office, or it's up to you guys.
I mean, my initial sense is that there should be a person that this goes through, but they don't have to go to the select board. So it would be you or perhaps the new hire.
Yeah, the new hire, I think will have it.
But that, someone, that's their job, is to make sure that they can say right off that this is fine
board not grant the access until we have a policy?
Well, if we're being consistent and we've survived up until now, so I don't mind, saying let's make ourselves come up with a proper policy.
I mean, right now, as you know, I'm filling in and spending, an hour or so a day. Kim has been very helpful for training me, and she's been doing some of the stuff. So if you're willing to continue to have the website access or teach me how to do it, I would be happy to continue that. I'm just a little nervous about having it go, and then it should be the administrator, whether it's an assistant or not, really should control it, I think.
I'm okay posting on it until you guys can come up with a policy and then get someone in that position too. But for now, until you can get the stuff together, I will be happy to post as soon as I can. Now that I've done it multiple times in the last week, I can do it like that. But before, it was like the blind leading the blind. I was just thrown into it every now and then.
It does seem like a logical.
I mean, does everybody agree with that?
Assignment that goes to the town administrator when the time comes.
So is everybody in agreement with that?
Yeah, and probably for the next agenda that, we begin to develop a policy. So
We'll try.
take that up, seriously.
Okay. Energy emergency ordinance, I guess that's you, Bill.
Well, I'm here to respond to anything that you have, but I've given it to you guys a long time ago.
Right, and we're
You were
supposed
going
to
to look
approve
at
it, as I understand. Is that why it's on there?
Well, I had
We'll put it on, so.
But when I put it on with all the edits that I would suggest that you would make to it, however, we never sit down and discussed all those edits and what you want to have. The problem with the way the ordinance is written right now is that you refer to authorizing documents that don't exist, like the town charter. We're a town without a charter. So that all the references should be to the Vermont statutes annotated. And then if you're going to have an emergency management director who is going to have that authority, it should be clear that you're not talking about the select board chair, but you're talking about the emergency management director. Those are the two things that I can think of right off the top that I haven't looked at it for a while, but I marked it all up at the time.
You want to refer to it?
I can refer to it if you have questions on it. Well, let me refer to it and I'll go through it quickly. Yeah, first of all, it's the state statutes, not the town charter. The qualifications is fine. It talks about, in section 5, the emergency powers and duties, the town emergency management director, it should say, instead of the chair of select board. It might be the chair of the select board if that person is the emergency manager. So there's no reason, but in the future, so there is no reason to say the town select board. It could, because the town appoints an emergency management director every year, so that person would be appointed. And then, and it would be, the powers would be as set forth in state statute and in this ordinance. It gives that person a lot of authority to act in the emergency, but it never takes the authority away from the select board to step in. That being said, the emergency management director you can give him authority to borrow the money that is necessary to fund the operation, and always referring back to you. It's really important to have that done, as we found out in Irene, is that we needed to keep the wheels going, and in order to do that, we needed to have the treasurer talk to the banks and get the loans in order to get it done, and then at the same time get the money paid back right away. So that person needs to have some autonomy, and that's what the ordinance does, is direct it. That's probably the most important thing, and it was probably the reason why we got everything, except for 2 culverts, the one on Eastman and the one up by my house. Except for those 2 culverts, we had everything done December 15th of the same year as 2011. So in, what's that, 3 months? Something like that. We had from August 29th until December 15th, that's when we paved the last part out by the farm. That was, we had everything done. And one of the reasons we did is because we didn't tell the truck drivers that we couldn't pay them. Rather, we had the money to pay them and we cut them in town, and we picked up a lot from all the other towns. So it's really important to have that, the ability to respond to it quickly. Again, without taking authority away from you, it does it, that you have the oversight, the Board of Selectmen have the oversight, but this person has the authority to act day to day, put out the bids, do all the other stuff to get it all done. Yeah.
The other thing that might be good to know is, with this ordinance in place, the select board can still write what's called a delegation of authority. And so you tell, if it's Bill, you tell Bill, these are the objectives, or this is what we want you to accomplish, and this is your budget, or however you spell that out in your delegation of authority. And so you're giving him guidelines and he's carrying it out for you, or he and his staff is carrying it out for you. And that's, I give credit to the past board. When Irene happened, they realized they were in over their head. There was more there than they could do. And so they gave a delegation to Bill to go forward and do it, and it paid off.
Now, just so I understand, an ordinance, doesn't an ordinance require a hearing? An ordinance is different than adopting policy. And I just remember when I'm reading something about ordinances that there has to be a hearing or there has to be a notice. I don't think we can just accept it. I mean, is that?
That's true. Yeah, you need to have a public hearing.
Right, exactly, yeah. So I think what we need to decide today, if we're happy with what it is here, then we can go ahead and proceed to have it public.
Post it. Can I have it back, please? Thank you.
Yeah, I read the thing, I don't know, some time ago, and one of the things that I didn't want to be the person as a chair. I mean, I think I emailed Bill and I said, no way. No, I mean, it worked very well last time, and I think, it should work again if we got to do, we ever have another, catastrophic situation. So the question is, are we happy with what Bill has done, and are we ready to go now and proceed with the next step in the hearings? I'm fine with it.
I mean, same with me, it's been a while, but I remember that I had no problems with it. I didn't see anything that needed to be addressed.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll just start the process.
Generally speaking, you need 15 days public hearing for an ordinance. And it has to be published, so it's 15 days from the first date of publication.
In the newspaper.
In the
Newspaper.
Yeah.
So you have to publish this whole document?
No.
No, you just have to warn the ordinance that you're about to.
And I'm sure that Kim
Yeah, Kim and I will work on this.
Yeah,
We'll work on
the
it.
language says you can find it at the clerk's office, and
Yeah.
and you put it on only 2 each time.
Do we need to make a motion to do that, or just?
I don't think so. I mean, we have to have I think we need a motion to accept the revisions. I mean, you can't have a public hearing if the board didn't accept as I see it, you have to accept Bill's corrections and changes.
Well, we want a motion to accept it and move forward with the
Yeah.
procedures for
Exactly.
Yeah, that's exactly what we need to do, yeah. So Ron, you make the motion?
Yeah, so I make a motion that we receive the emergency ordinance as developed by Bill Kearns, and that we move forward to have it, adopted as a proper public meeting and notice.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So Kim, you and I will work on that this coming week or whenever, depending when we have a minute. But we'll get it done, Bill.
Okay.
Promise. Next one is the VLCT model rules of procedure. We talked about that. I have VLCTs. To be honest with you, since I'm filling in for Emily, I didn't have any time to deal with it. So I'd like to just put this off until we have a chance to. It's in a PDF form. It's not in a Word form. So I think Kim has got a program now that we can convert. And she's been away, and I've been busy, so we haven't had a chance to do that. So we will put that on one of the agendas coming forward. We've operated so long without it, so I think another couple of weeks, it would make any difference.
And we'll need a good discussion on this, just to make sure.
Absolutely.
Because
Yeah.
it's a major change.
Yeah, and once we have it done, then we can have a discussion about it and do it. All right, the next item is the job description of the town administrator. So the last meeting, there were some additions, so we put it on. They were corrected. So we need to, I personally would like to see us, unless there's an issue here, be okay with the job description so we can get the job out for, to get it filled.
So my question is revised 11/30/17, so that would include this is the most up to date.
Yeah, this is it, yeah. This is the most up to date.
Can I see that, just to see if I do you have an extra copy? Or?
I mailed it to everybody, no, that's fine. I emailed it to everybody. You don't have the latest one because you don't have this on the bottom. See where it says, you have that, revised 11/30. You don't have that.
I noted the changes we were going to
You don't have the latest copy. I instituted that now because that's something that otherwise you can't keep track of what's copy is.
No, it's already an improvement.
You're going to apply for the job?
No. No, but I'll do it until we can find somebody, but I know I'm not.
Can I ask a question on the job description? It is written in there, the amount of hours. Is that the amount of hours you intended on, or was that something we were going to discuss?
Well, I think we can discuss that in the executive session, so when we talk about.
So you won't be able to adopt this then?
Well, we can adopt it, we can always change it. I mean, right now, it's 32 hours, so why not keep it the same? I mean, we need to move on with this thing, unless you do want to change it. And I think it's important that the board understand what I've been doing and what I have found. And I would not like to make that decision now without having a further discussion, but I also don't want to delay the hiring process.
But the hiring process will be based on the hours.
Yes.
So you'll do that.
I guess. I mean, it's up to the board. And nobody, this was the revised at the last meeting. We didn't talk about, we kept it 32 hours, and we had a discussion about whether it would be an assistant or a town administrator. So all the thing I did was correct them and give them to the board, so.
Oh, that's right, the title too is still a town administrator.
Yeah, I would just like, I think it's important that we get the ads going, and it's going to take a couple of months anyway. Maybe we'd be lucky and it'd be quicker, but.
I think I understand what Kim's
I understand what you're
thinking
saying.
about as far as she's assumed some responsibility that should reflect in the reduction of hours here. But I also think there are things that have not been done that could be done. Continually reviewing ordinances, policies, keeping things updated. I think there's some organizational things that could be done. So it might be different work, but I think I'm guessing there's 32 hours worth of work, but it'll be different.
And remember, we had a discussion about the increasing importance of state regulations for record keeping and Act 64 requirements. So
Exactly.
I think we had a sense.
We had the discussion last time. I think Kim had a meeting you were not at, which was the increase, what we expect the new person to assist Danny in bookkeeping and record keeping for the roads for that Act 64. So I think things are changing and we're trying to adjust to that.
Now, the issue of what the title will be, I think is quite important for us to try and get that right. And we have a list of qualifications here. They don't include required BS or BA or 5 years experience, which shows up, so many of the job descriptions that you posted from other towns. And so the qualifications to me are more in line with an administrative assistant. That's what we're expecting them to bring. So one question is, are we at ease with that? Because we've talked a bit about needing someone that, perhaps needing, so we hadn't made that decision, but that we need someone that really, could grab things and just be able to accomplish a lot because they have the experience and extra qualifications that we're not looking for here in our list of qualifications. So I think we need to be at ease with that.
Personally, I think it should be an administrative assistant, not a town administrator, but that's my personal feeling.
That's my sense as well, but we have to perhaps be clear about what will happen then. What kind of experience a person will bring to the job if that's what we're looking for. And that will also reflect what we're willing to pay. A town administrator would expect to be paid more than we were paying our administrative assistant.
I read that had been taken out, that we didn't have the education requirements. But I assumed that was taken out with the understanding or the thinking that we would take the best candidate that was available to us. I think who we get for candidates is directly going to be reflected by what we offer for pay, or what bracket of pay that we say, it's this to this, that people are going to say that's attractive or that's not attractive.
Yeah, we took out, the BS or BA's preferred, a minimum of 2 years experience. But when we did our last hire, it was just an interesting group of people we ended up with. And we had a dozen or so applications, and we interviewed 5.
That's correct.
Yeah. And, from the applications that we winnowed down from, and then some of the people we applied, they were clearly people that, in a sense, were overqualified. One was a retired lawyer and so on. People looking to, in fact, I think 2 of them were looking to find a reason to move up here permanently and so on. And their qualifications, it was like too much. You say, why would you be applying for a job like this? And I'm not sure how we avoid that sort of group again that would, win on a chance to get a job, and it's not really appropriate for them. But they look good on paper. So, gee, a lawyer. But they didn't have the experience in the area that they needed.
Well, it's just a title. I mean, we had administrative assistant a long time, and then it got changed. And I don't think it makes much difference. I think, Kim could correct me, but in VLCT, there's no such thing as a town administrator. So everybody calls it something different. So, to me, I think I would rather see town administrator assistant rather than town administrator, but that's just my personal opinion.
Well, if you look at those job descriptions that I sent out, the town of Mendon has both. They have a town administrator and they have an administrative assistant. So they successfully describe 2 different positions. And so at least in the town of Mendon's view, They are two different positions.
Well, yeah, probably the town administrator is probably overworked, so she has somebody to help her, correct? Yeah.
And what authority does the town administrator in their capacity have? More than ours, probably? Is it more of an acting town manager?
Well, it's getting closer to a town.
Yeah,
sure.
it's getting closer to a town manager, so you expect, of course, higher pay and all of that tends to go with the title.
Which is the last thing we need here.
Yeah, most of those positions were saying they wanted BS or BA and 5 years of experience, and some of them specified the kinds of experience. And, you know, I don't think we're thinking that we're going to have a budget that goes after that type of person. Given that we have to feel that we don't really need that kind of person, because if we really do, then we have to bite the bullet. But you know, my sense is we don't. You know, we're in a particular situation here that, you know, it doesn't have to be repeated. So.
Well, can we all agree that we could change to an assistant position?
I agree.
Yeah.
And then move forward with the approval of the job description, and then we can go ahead and start the hiring process?
May I?
Yeah, sure.
Did you read the one from the town of Stamford? They're about our size, I'd say. It's very brief and to the point. It sounds good.
Yeah, it was interesting.
But it's better to have more than less, because then you have less confusion, I think. And, you know,
Well,
it's
the
clear
one gives
review.
you more flexibility, but I don't know if we want 80 applications. You know?
I don't think you're going to get 80 applications.
It's surprising how many we got last time.
I don't know, I read an article in the paper, the local paper here, that they're having a tough time filling jobs. There's really, there's not enough of the workforce to go around, so it might be a little different time this time than it was last time. So can we agree? So we
Yeah.
can,
So it's
change
the
to
administrative assistant?
Yeah, to replace the town administrator.
Yeah, and then we can approve this thing, so we can go ahead and start the hiring process?
You need a motion?
Yeah.
I make the motion that we rename the position administrative assistant and use this job description to generate our notice of vacancy.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, good. Okay. All right, the next thing is, I had a discussion with Kim, and I had a discussion with a few of the other members of the board, that maybe we could, in the interim, find a person who might want to work a couple of hours a week to do some of the clerical duties that I'm doing now, i.e. checking the emails, checking the messages, and just doing minutes and not minutes, typing minutes, the agendas and things, helping the board. I don't know if that's something that people want to consider, and I don't know whether there's anybody who wants to take the job, but it was a thought, and I just wanted to bring it to the board for discussion.
They're going to work for the same rate you're working for?
I think I would, accept your sense on this, because you're doing a lot of extra work here, because I'm not able to help much, so I would defer you.
Well, no, I don't even know if that's possible. I don't even know if there's somebody who wants to do this kind of work. I didn't want to go ahead and put out the word or run something if the board's not in agreement, obviously. So
I would agree to a part-time, which think about the number of hours and the pay, and I'd be at ease with going forward and trying to fill it.
We have to advertise.
yeah, we would have to advertise.
And we would pay that person at the temporary
Yeah,
rate?
right, obviously, yeah. Part-time, whatever the board decided that rate would be. Certainly not the administrative rate.
Well, our temporary
Our
rate's $18
temporary
an hour.
is 18, it's set
Okay,
in our
That's
policy.
it, so it's $18.
Right, because there's no benefits.
Right.
The hourly rate is higher.
Okay. So if we're all in agreement, then then we can, you know.
How are we going to recruit that person?
I figured that, you know, just run it in Grafton News for one, you can run it in Chester Telegraph, put it on the website.
Well, if you put it in the Grafton News that just came out, so you aren't gonna run it for a month,
No,
you're gonna interview
we can
people.
post it outside the town hall, I mean, you know.
Well, that's why I'm asking, how do we want to do that? Because we can do it word of mouth.
Well, get some
assuming it's
suggestions,
local.
whatever you suggestions.
How soon can we get it in, the newspapers? Couple of papers.
Get it in a newspaper by Thursday, I believe. But you gotta know what you wanna say.
Well, basically,
What would the deadline be too? You need to pick a deadline. You're gonna accept interested applications or resumes until when?
I'd give it 7 to 10 days.
Yeah.
So the point is to get help right away, not,
Yeah.
Well, that's why I'm asking.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and you know, we have to, the ad has to be, they have to be computer literate, you know, with Excel, Microsoft Word, and those kinds of things, just, you know, otherwise,
Well, if you want to go through, going to actually do some work, but perhaps you and Kim can sit down and go through the job description and pick out
Yeah, I don't know.
a half dozen things that this is what we need some help with, and we're not worried about,
I think when we go into executive session later about the TA job, what I have discovered, I think we will have a better, clearer vision of what needs to happen,
Yeah.
if we can do that. And I'm certainly, if Kim's willing to work, I'm willing to work with her to do this. Okay, all right. Okay, budget discussion. The reason why it's on there is that we're coming to the end of the procedure, and I would like to have another working session. The deadline is when, Kim, for the final?
The end of December, I'd like to have it.
So I'd like to, Alan is not here next week. I can't do it this week, I'm just too tied up. But we can do it in the next couple of weeks. I'd like to just have a working session, whether we do 1 in the afternoon or 8 in the morning again like we did. And just to review the budget, talk about the warrants, and get everything organized so that we can, Kim can have the final word.
Can we pick a date right now to do it?
Yeah, that's fine.
The week of December 18th. I can do it on the 18th or the morning of the 19th.
Is that too late for you, Kim? No?
One of those 2 days, either the 18th,
So that's.
Monday, or morning of the 19th. Those two would work for me.
So that's for the working, and then when is the next select board meeting? It wouldn't.
Beginning of January.
No, there's one.
Well,
The
The
18th.
18th is the meeting.
evening, so we could, if we did the meeting in the morning, the budget in the morning, we could adopt it that evening.
Okay.
It works for me.
Okay?
Okay.
So,
But can we not do it at 8 o'clock in the morning?
You gotta get up.
No, I have farm duties to do. Sorry.
Delegate.
How about Tuesday? Would that work?
Well, Tuesday would work in the morning, but it'll be after the select board meeting.
Well, I'm looking for coverage in my office if we have it done.
Well, we could have a special select meeting to approve the stuff?
Yeah.
I mean, have it that following?
Yeah, whatever you want to call when you can.
Yeah, I mean, why don't we just have a special one to do that?
so if we did it Tuesday, then we could.
That would be the 19th.
On Wednesday or Thursday, and then.
I'm teaching up north on Wednesday, Thursday.
Well, you said the 19th, is that Tuesday?
That's Tuesday.
Tuesday that I
So you
can
wanna
work
do-
with you guys.
You want to do
Yeah,
it Tuesday, the 19th?
But we need to be able to call a special.
Well, then we can do it,
So,
we can do it a couple of days later.
well, no, think about it. If we're all gonna be there for the meeting, why don't we go have a meeting and we're gonna talk about the budget, and then at the end of that, we'll call a meeting to order and we'll accept it.
All right.
Okay?
While we're right there.
Okay, absolutely, good idea, why not? Makes sense.
So Tuesday.
Well, I think you probably should be able to post it after your meeting in the morning so that people can see it and then have a public hearing on it, right? Or do
No,
you
no,
need-
not on the budget,
Not on the
no.
budget, okay.
No, because
The public hearing is going to be
Town- town meeting.
at the
Correct.
the informational, the pre-town meeting.
Correct.
Where they can talk about
Where
it.
they can talk about it, yeah.
Sure. So, do an hour and a half ahead and then plan on prior to that, we'll
It's the
talk
day.
about it. Pardon?
What is the date?
The 19th.
19th.
The 19th.
December
Yeah, the 19th would
Tuesday
be
morning.
best, I have coverage.
Tuesday morning.
You want to do like 9 a.m.?
That'll work.
Okay. Can you make it, Alan? Ron?
Yep, 9 a.m.
So let's do it 9 a.m. And what we can do is you can set out you want to have another meeting in the afternoon?
No.
No, just one and that's it.
Let's have it, and let's just warn this meeting like at 11:30 or 11:45.
Well, you have 9 o'clock. That's
Well, we're warning at 9.
9.
Right, I'm saying, if we
Right.
start our meeting at 9,
Nine.
we can discuss for 2 to 2.5
Right,
hours.
yeah.
And then at 11:30 or 11:45, we say, okay, we start our meeting to adopt the budget. And that's all.
So we're warning two separate.
Two separate meetings. That's my
Well,
point.
one is for discussion.
Yeah.
One is a budget workshop and the other one is a special
Okay,
select
if we
board
don't,
meeting.
if we don't need to have two separate ones, if we can do it all at one, that's even
I
better.
wonder, just one
Yeah.
meeting for
I'm
9
not trying to get
a.m.
it.
That's fine.
Just have
Budget
one meeting.
review and adoption.
Yeah,
That's fine.
That's fine.
That's fine. Warn it that way.
Okay, the 19th at 9 a.m.,
Correct.
For-
Tuesday.
Yeah,
Correct.
for budget
That's right.
review and adoption.
Okay,
At Town Hall.
good.
So can I just ask that everybody look at this, and if you have any concerns or anything prior to then, you can ask me ahead, and then it's easier for me to do research and look back in the prior
Yeah.
years to answer those questions than it is just to be looking at my notebook.
Right, and what I want to do is I want to prepare the draft of the warrants, so we have them to look at this meeting on the 19th.
The
Draft.
articles,
Yeah, the article, drafting,
are
so we
we
have,
gonna approve them then, or just look at them? Just
you can look at them, you can approve them, we can do whatever you want to do with them.
Well, if we're
No.
going to
You
approve,
can have them ahead of time, obviously.
You can look at them, but you can't do any action because there's a deadline for putting something on the warning.
Yeah, but we
We have
can-
to wait for more people to add
Right, but we can approve our portion of it.
your,
Yes,
yeah, your
yes.
word.
That's what I'm saying, the ones that the select board might want to add, like the budget surplus, the
Town hall.
the town hall, various other
Those,
things.
but you
Yeah.
won't even be able to have the wording for your budget,
No, I understand that. I'm talking
just
about
the other odds and ends.
The odds and ends that have to go on, so that we have the whole package put in front of us.
So are we going to do the revenue too then?
Yeah, because I haven't even touched on the revenue
No.
yet.
We should do the revenue too. If you're going to do a budget, that is part of the budget.
Well,
That's pretty basic, but
can we do it, all?
Well, yeah.
Okay, then let's do the whole thing then.
Yeah.
Let's wipe it out so we can have a nice Christmas.
and everybody has a copy of what I've inserted for the figures that we talked about last time, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and so we're gonna work off of that and tweak that if it needs tweaking.
Right.
Okay.
Right, and anybody,
Just we're on the same page.
and I urge them to go see Kim, and, any questions, because the more questions we have, then the more we can deal with.
Excuse me.
Okay. Public comment? Oh, Eric, the board voted your request to grant Chuck Wise access. We have tabled it because we need to adopt a policy on who can access the website, which we don't have. And right now, we just funnel through Kim.
Okay.
And then let's see what happens with the administrative assistant. And once we hire that person, we might just either give Chuck an opportunity, or once we have a policy, and the board would need to decide further on how we want to handle access to the website. Okay? No other reason, but we just don't have a policy right now on who can and who can't and whatever. So,
That's fine.
no other reason.
Limiting it to just one gets very awkward, which is essentially what we've been living with And so if you can figure out how to have at least two, one way or another, that would be great. Two people that have access to be able to alter the website.
Well, you would. You have Kim and you have the administrators, the new hire.
Right.
Right now, we only have one, because you only have one employee.
So you have capability?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
So Kim has capability.
Yeah.
Just bear with me, though.
So we'll try to work together, and whatever, okay?
And as Chuck pointed out, it will be easier for him to do a lot of his work if he did have access, but
Right.
obviously you have to.
We need to have a policy first before we go ahead and do this, which we don't have, obviously. Public comment?
Mr. Chair, I was sat in a select board meeting, I guess, a couple of months ago, discussing the town plan and Grafton's town plan, and when we might expect to have a finished town plan for the town. And I think your response to me was that something was to materialize sometime in November, and we're coming into December, and I just want to reiterate to you, Mr. Chair, that industrial wind turbines are not dead in Grafton, Vermont. Okay, when I hear ramblings about being resistant to increased water quality of the Howe, Stiles, and Millie's Brook, when I hear commissioners who are very adverse to being open to the information that was gathered in health committees for the select board about industrial wind turbines, when I hear that there's commissioners who are saying that the vote here in Grafton against Iberdrola by a margin of 2 or 3 to 1 does not necessarily represent the town's interests in any future projects, that has me very worried. These things are all adding up, and Joe, I know you said this to me, that industrial wind turbines, it's in the past. It's in the past. I'm telling you, it's not in the past. These things that are still going on, the fact that we do not have a valid, I shouldn't say a valid, but an updated, approved town plan, okay, leaves this town open to substantial indifference, which means not anybody can come in and look at these mountains and say, hey, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, because Grafton doesn't have a town plan. Okay, Jamaica just passed their town plan. It was approved by the WRC. Okay, and it has descriptions about how they feel about industrial wind turbines
Right here.
thank you, on their ridge lines. I urge you to please get a town plan completed for the town of Grafton that puts in the strongest possible language to protect our residents from the harmful effects of industrial wind turbines. And I know there's concerns about solar panels as well, and I think if that's the case, we should put in the strictest possible language to protect the residents if they have concerns about leaching or future leaching from solar panels. We should protect those residents as well. But I feel that this has been going on for way long enough. Again, I left the commission with the plan 99% intact. We were down to the legalese on wind and solar. That's what we're down to. We're nearly a year later, and it's not complete. I think there's forces here that are greater that would like to see Grafton have the ability to put industrial wind turbines. I tell you unequivocally, with my research that I've done for the commission, and on my own, spending years of doing this research, that it is a human health impact to our neighbors who were going to be closest to it. And so I please urge the board to do something about getting a town plan with the strongest language to prevent industrial wind turbines here.
Did you attend the meeting when Sarah Jarvis gave the talk at the town, at the school?
No, I did not.
It was very clear to me that the select board has very little authority to do anything other than to fire the planning commission and hire new ones, and it has to be unanimous. It's really not up to us the planning commission really is the one that has to do the plan.
No, I understand that.
So this, our hands are somewhat tied, and as far as I know, they are working on the plan.
I just think we're a small enough town here of 300 full-time residents that the select board people could be communicating with the commission, saying, hey, what's the holdup here? What do you need? The last I remember was that we had an attorney that we were going to bring in to nail out the legalese on industrial wind turbine language and solar language. That's what was all that was left for the Grafton town plan. And then now that's not done, and I'm just trying to figure out when.
Well, at the last planning commission meeting, my understanding, Eric, is that you and is it Matt and Valerie were going to meet to go over the energy part of the plan. And that meeting or meetings would take place before the next meeting, which will be next week, am I right? So have those meetings taken place?
The first one did, with me absent, because I was very ill. I'm almost recovered now, and there's one more to come. And Chuck Wise is helping us considerably in facilitating some kind of common language. He's also working on the other sort of boilerplate sections of the town plan that really are not controversial at all.
So will you be ready? Will the commission be ready next meeting to receive the energy chapter, the draft energy chapter?
At the next commission meeting,
Which is next week?
I would say no, but we may have some language from both points of view, and maybe some common language, and there'll be a process of working out, but one which I don't see taking a long time. We are up against the time limit of being able to have a town plan fully approved by roughly the March time frame. I think we can do that.
Now, there was a request put in for help from the Wyndham Regional Commission for planning help. Have you heard anything from that?
There will be an Energy Committee meeting this week, Thursday. That is on the agenda for that meeting. The way I understand it is that only 3 towns have applied for it, and 3 towns were to be allocated money. Unless they choose to not give us any money, we should be able to have some assistance from the WRC.
Yeah, good. I hope it's good. I mean, I'm worried because that the proposal put in simply said that we were interested.
Right.
The guidelines requested a fair amount of detailed information from us. So that wasn't met, so there were 4 proposals in there. I would have said it would be a cold day in hell before they would choose select us, because we simply didn't meet, their minimum guidelines for the information we were to provide. They could still say, this is sort of an insulting request and turn us down. I'm wondering if there's any way of letting the Wyndham Regional Commission know that we are seriously interested in receiving help. Point out that we're going through the changes with the town administrative assistant job and so on. Whatever reasons we want to produce, but it's the required information just was never submitted, so I'm worried about how seriously they'll take our request for help.
Eric, can we put you on the agenda for the next meeting to give us an update, since you're having all these things coming up, so we can find out where we stand? How's that? Okay? All right. Any other public comment?
One more question, Joe. Just if you had an update on the water quality levels that they wanted to increase from good to exceptional on the 3?
To my knowledge, no.
No update? Is the town involved? Are we sending a representative from the select board?
We have a representative, Alan.
There's been no meeting. They're aware of that, and I'm on the email list. I haven't received any invitation to attend a meeting.
So no.
Any other public comment? I would like to just congratulate the Wyndham Foundation, the church, GIA, the MKT, and anybody else who was involved in this fire department, in this Grafton attempt for the first Christmas. I think it was fabulous. And I would hope that it continues and it gets better. I understand there's a meeting coming up on Friday at 10 o'clock to kind of review what went right and what went wrong and whatever. So I think it was fabulous for the town and something I've wished for many, many, many years, and I am so thrilled that it's actually starting to happen.
The time on Friday?
10 o'clock at the barn, I believe.
In the bar.
Barn.
I thought he said bar, so pretty early.
You know, it's Vermont, the barn are the same thing.
Any other public comment? All right, so we want new business to follow up. I don't have anything. Do we? I don't know if there's anything that, does anybody have any new business or something we need to follow up on? Okay, yes.
I know you had sent out letters and when you first started on the board for those who had worked for us and then have then since left their position, and could
Right.
you do the same for Emily?
Oh, okay, all right. Okay, no problem. Thank you, Ken. Okay, all right.
I have something to say.
Oh.
I want to say thank you very much for putting the signs up at the top of Wyndham Hill. If you have a big car that's high, you can read them. But I would like to see at least one of them a little bit lower, because if you're just driving normal passenger vehicles, they're a little high.
Well, they were put up high for a reason,
Yes.
so they don't disappear. So-
I understand, but it took me a while to find them, because I was looking, down below, and they were. But thank you very much for doing it.
Any bullet holes in that?
Okay, meeting, we adjourn the regular meeting at 7:03 on December 4th. And we need a motion to go into executive session. Somebody make a motion?
Cynthia just did.
Oh, you did? I thought you said somebody should.
Are we inviting anybody?